Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, and thank you for joining me in my weekly Friday comic book review upload video. It's nice to have you here on this very snowy, cold day. Yes, the snow has finally made it to my town, but I'm snug and warm in my flat, and I've got a stack of comics to tell you what I thought of them. I've also got my pick of the week, which will come up straight after this video, and I have to say it absolutely surprised me that I actually gave this book my pick of the week, so look out for that. Also, don't forget, tomorrow 12 PM GMT I will be putting up the first of the trade union videos that I'm doing on a monthly basis. Basically it's a trade paperback kind of book club where I'm inviting you all to make videos on the book that I'm reading for that particular month. This month of January was Joshua Williamson's Nailbiter, so I'm looking forward to hearing all your thoughts, hopefully seeing some of your videos. I know T-Bird said she would try and get one up for Saturday as well. Thank you very much if that happens. So let us get on with this week's comics, and we're beginning with Umbral, issue 12, another title this week that took me surprise, especially given that on Wednesday I wasn't damning about it, but because I'm picking this up, I'm spending my hard-earned cash on it. But I said in Wednesday's video that there was nothing surprising about this. It kind of trod a well-worn kind of high fantasy Lord of the Rings type path. And I know that Anthony Johnson, the writer of this, did warn us a few issues back that by issue 12 there was going to be a big game changer, that you know, these big changes were going to happen and it was going to take you by surprise. And my God, did it ever. Now, this issue, until we get to the big change, it's a bit difficult really to know who the bad guys are and who the good guys are. Anthony Johnson has been kind of teasing us and hinting at us that there is a traitor within our main group, and we've been kind of thrown these twists, these red herrings, and then they kind of go back on in themselves. And I think, I mean, this issue certainly doesn't make it any clearer on who we should be trusting, who we should be rooting for. And I think this is what's hurting the book just a little bit. But it is certainly a Rascal, our main kind of character, the young girl who's a thief, that we need to watch very carefully. Anthony Johnson certainly turned up a notch on writing just a really intriguing high fantasy story. It would seem that the use of Umbral has its cons as well as its pros. There is a bunch of fighting in here. There's lots of fights with the kind of Umbral black shadowy demons. We see people who could potentially be have been taken over by the Umbral. It makes for a very exciting read, and now it actually makes me want to go, oh, I mean, usually Umbral is one of those books that I leave kind of middle-ish to the end of what I'm going to read, because I think it's not going to be, you know, the most fantastic read. I don't need to rush to read what's going to happen in the next issue. But with this one, I certainly feel like I'm going to have to pay more attention. Justice League Dark issue number 38, and this continues this kind of alternate world dimension storyline where we had all the team split up from each other in their own kind of little groups in different kind of these dimension worlds. Now, the thing with this storyline I felt with, and especially in this one, is that DC really should have made a bigger deal about this, and I don't know it just feels like it should have been an event book, maybe in its own kind of little universe, but with that kind of offshoots to their other titles like Swamp Thing. But it just seems bigger than it actually is. And I just wonder if it has anything to do with the upcoming Convergence storyline and a big event that DC are leading up to. Because we have these kind of ruptures in time that are causing havoc throughout. Also, it feels kind of like the use of avatars in this that they seem to be pushing. The tree is definitely, you know, this kind of embodiment of the avatar of the green. We had that kind of black wave of no space that was crashing over this world, one of these dimensions that some of our team are in. We do finally get the group finally back together again, but it still feels incredibly fragmented. Zatanna, who is supposedly their leader, there's no love for this woman from the rest of the team right now, and she's not really helping herself either. She is in this world where you can have your perfect life, what you desire the most. And Zatanna shows a few of the team their desires and is it really what they want. So they show Andrew Bennett back to being his human self and with the love of his life, Mary. We see Frankenstein as a human. We see Zatanna just wishing to die. She's kind of like been this kind of immortal character that's lived for generations and generations, but she's tired now. Inside, she is old and she feels like she wants to die. And just as we're about to find out about Black Orchid, you know, shit hits the fan, and it always seems to stop there. There is something about Black Orchid, whether they will get to it or not, but we don't know a great deal about this version of Black Orchid. We get kind of little snippets here and there, but I think there's more to that character than meets the eye. We get the House of Mystery kind of reborn in, okay, it's a very convenient plot device so they can escape and hopefully kind of save the universe, the worlds, the dimensions from all these ruptures in time. It's a very exciting read, it's a fun read. It just feels like it should be something more and something bigger. But I think Justice League Dark is, despite the fact, you know, there's been rumours about a movie for this title, it's much way down on the scale of interest at DC Comics. We move on to Alex and Ada, issue 12 from Image Comics, and events are certainly getting that much more complicated for R2. We have Alex's friend Jacob in his realisation that Ada is a sentient robot now, and his struggle to reconcile what to do. But he does make a brilliant and most poignant point here, in that despite the fact that Ada has developed and been given this sentient thought mind, she is still, in essence, a robot. And you know, some people have already kind of mentioned this in their reviews, but it is kind of icky at times, especially the relationship that is being built between Alex and Ada. There is a death in the family, in Alex's family, and there is kind of a really nice, sweet and emotional few scenes there written by Jonathan Luna. And we may have another robot that will become sentient because of this death. And then we had this kind of ominous ending, and I'm a little confused. I may have forgotten, but who is Sue? Is she the ex-girlfriend of Alex? I don't think she is. Or was she one of the robots that had gained sentience? Either way, there's something bad coming from that. This series is coming to a conclusion, I think, in the next couple of issues. So Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughan are building up to their big finale. I'm loving this series. It is very sedate. It is very slow. There's no like big action scenes here, but what we do get is great insight into these characters, and you feel like they're fully developed people who you care what happens to them. Okay, if you want complicated storyline, then Batman 38 and this part 4 of Endgame. Wow, is this ever complicated. Everyone's trying to find out an antidote for this kind of virus that Joker has spread across Gotham that is turning all the population just batshit crazy, pardon the pun, and they realise that this is going to be much more deadly than they first realised, with only this kind of 24-hour incubation period, and then the cells begin to rot and obviously the people will die. But then they throw in so much stuff with Joker. Clearly he's going to be the key to this. He holds you know, the antidote within himself. It's within his own blood, at least that's what I'm kind of getting from this. We've got jellyfish that can age backwards. We're drawing in on a huge swathe of DC history that includes both Vandal Savage, Ra's al Ghul, and of course Joker. And it's going back to the dawn of man, and it is very heavily expositional, which is a bit of a struggle when you're reading 9 or 10 comic books and you've got a review video to put up in a couple of days' time. But fortunately Snyder does kind of intersperse all this heavy dialogue and information with some great action scenes, expertly drawn by Greg Capullo, of course. There's a fantastic backstory, not necessarily because of the story, but because of the art, and oh my god, I've forgotten his name. He's the pointy-eared Batman drawer. Oh, you're gonna tell me. I've forgotten for now, I'm sorry. But the art in that was fantastic. And I mean, the story seems to be kind of getting linked in, whether it's all just fake and Joker's using all these prisoners to further the kind of mythology and the fear and the scare of the Joker. Time will tell. My brain needed a rest after I read this issue. Bitch Planet issue number 2, and I'm hoping this is going to kind of change with future issues, because the problem that I have with this title is everything is so black and white. It's men versus women, men being the dominant force, women being the subservient force. And where's the underground kind of rebel alliance, the sympathisers to the female cause, the ones that are trying to kind of infiltrate this male-dominated society from within and break it down and make it more an equal society. This whole kind of black and white it grates on me just a little bit. However, as a sci-fi story, this hits the mark on all levels. We see a lot more of the way the men live their lives, how they influence the public in general, and all their agendas, whether they are hidden or not so hidden. Now, the artwork by Delandro is fantastic. They have their keen pencil, pens, inks, whatever, right on the sci-fi button, and you get this feeling of a very futuristic kind of technological universe. And I mean, the scenes on the prison planet, especially the confession module, where you have all these screens with this kind of sexy nun, Mother Superior type figure, trying to get our main character to confess to killing someone she didn't. And the way they're trying to break down her spirit, not letting her rest, not letting her eat, not letting her drink. But our main character is clearly much more stronger than that. Then we had the running scenes where they're having, I guess, an exercise period. And you have these huge screens of kind of like an aerobics instructor who's very curvaceous, very sexy, doing all the kind of the moves, the aerobic style jumping stars and bending over. But also in the background you have this riot going on between the police and the prison guards and all the prisoners. It makes an amusing and kind of juxtaposing the two scenes together. It just makes for an interesting page to look at. I do like this as a sci-fi book. It does all that it's meant to do. I've obviously got it on my pull list. I am enjoying it. I'm going to keep continuing getting it. I just want a little bit more of the grey rather than the black and the white. We continue with Batman Eternal issue 43, and this title was certainly a game changer on all levels. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, I loved this issue. For so long, this has kind of trudged its way through. It's been distinctly average, and I've been almost losing the will to live. But this was like a breath of fresh air. We've caught up with that Batman issue 28 that came out so long ago, where we got kind of glimpse into the Batman Eternal universe. We have a spoiler in the hands of Catwoman. We have Bluebird fighting alongside Batman, which surprised me because in the Batman issue 28, it certainly felt that Bluebird had worked with Batman for some time, that they had already kind of grown a connection. Tenuous, you know, not fully fledged, but there was a connection between them for them to be working together. However, we obviously know this is the first time, which we read in issue 43, that they have worked alongside each other. And it also shows how not proficient a Bluebird actually is at this whole fighting game. Again, in Batman issue 2, she seemed a very confident, self-assured character, which is the opposite really of what we see here. It's all bravado. There's no training there. There's no finesse. She almost kind of comes a cropper herself if it wasn't for one of the stupid bad men holding on to her gun strap. She would have been splat on the ground already. So that was a bit strange. However, this kind of youthful approach, because this issue certainly focused on a lot of the younger characters, just kind of revitalised this series, and maybe that's what it needed. A fresh, young outlook from the actual characters within the book. We see Spoiler and we see Bluebird in their kind of civilian guises of Stephanie Brown and Harper Row, at first being kind of at loggerheads together, and finding out that they do actually have more in common with themselves and almost becoming friendly. Of course, it's the very end of this issue that blows everything out the water. My God, what now is going on? I am not going to spoil this for you, but there is a reveal of who the Clue Master was speaking to all those issues ago. And wow, where is this going to go now? Great stuff. I'm glad that Batman Eternal has made me excited again. DC's Gotham by Midnight issue number 3, and this title reminds me so much of Rosam's and Irving's zombie run pre-52, which I enjoyed so much, and I'm so thankful that this kind of book kind of lives within the DC universe proper. Its dealings with kind of the dark, the supernatural aspect of Gotham, which Batwoman did try to do very much at the beginning of the run with J.H. Williams the third, bringing in the more supernatural elements of Gotham. Unfortunately, that kind of got lost a little with He Who Shall Not Be Named when he took over the book. But in this issue we have the team visiting a hospital where we have this young girl hospitalised whose shadow seems to want to have a life of its own. Oh gosh, Ben Templesmith is made for this book. He makes it as creepy as he possibly can, and it's just a joy to read. It's interspersed with a kind of backstory, not necessarily an origin story, but of one of the characters, Drake, and how we see how she hooked up with Jim Corrigan to be part of his kind of special supernatural task force within Gotham. 3 issues in, I just please, if you want something different from the brightly coloured superheroics, capes and masks of all the other 52 comic books, then give Gotham by Midnight a go. I'm sure it's not selling great. It's not, you know, an eye catcher, but it should be, because it's well written by Ray Fawkes, and I'm just a fan of Ben Templesmith's art. It oozes evilness, dirtiness, grittiness, all that good stuff. It's kind of apt that the Unwritten issue 12 would be my final book of this video, because it is the final issue. And as you can see on the cover, our character Tommy Taylor taking a bow. I think Mike Carey and Peter Grosz should also, both of you, take a bow, because this last issue was tense, it was emotional, and it was complete. There was an ending to this book. I don't see how the two creators can come back and do another series. They always said this was the end, there wasn't going to be any more, and I think they've certainly closed the book on this great series. I don't want to go into too much detail about this, because there's too much in this that would spoil anyone who is yet to read this series, let alone this issue. It would make a perfect trade choice for anyone who wants to jump in. I think in total there's probably only about 5 or 6 trades to pick up the whole series. But it's been one of my highlights on the Vertigo line for some time. With this finishing now, Fables with only 2 issues to go, I really don't know what Vertigo has left to kind of keep it going in some respects. But The Unwritten Apocalypse finished exactly how I would have liked to see it finish. Just a great book. And that's it for my main stack for this week. Don't forget to tune into my pick of the week, which will be uploaded straight after this one. If you've watched my Wednesday pull list video, you will have already worked out the surprising choice for my pick of the week this week. So again, thank you very much all of you for watching. To my new subscribers, if you haven't already subscribed but you just enjoyed what you just watched, hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and in the comment section down below, tell me what you thought about the books that I've read this week. If you've read them too, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions on those titles? Until we see each other again, bye-bye from me.